Let me share the process of replacing, or rather removing, the ABS module. Right now I'm starting with the wheels because I need to gain access to the wheel wells, especially for the front. Otherwise, having those wheels off will help me in draining the brake fluid and bleeding the system later. Gaining access to the work area, the brake fluid compartment is towards the back of the engine bay, and in the US we have that on the left side, which is our driver's side. Go ahead and pop these clips. You have about 5 of them. I use the flathead, but you can use clip removal tools. There usually is one that's rather stubborn, rather hidden in there, and I use a pair of long nose pliers with a hook. And once you have that removed, you can pull the secondary compartment cover and gain access to it. Now, at this point, I'd like to drain the brake fluid so I don't make a mess in there. Brake fluid can be rather corrosive, and since I've got sport calipers, I need 2 tubes on each caliper, and as you can see, I have those attached to the bleeder screws. Now, they usually say that when bleeding your system, you need to have the ABS module disabled. So before draining, I would like to go ahead and just disable the system. You could disconnect the battery, but for me, I'm just going to go ahead and disconnect it at the ABS module because I'll be removing it anyway. And it's not too difficult, really. You just need to get the gray clip and pull it upwards. And it's an interesting slide system. So as you pull it upwards, you might see the plug start moving horizontally. And that's about all it takes. So now the next thing is to go ahead and depress your brake pedal and drain fluid. Drain as much as you can. And I'm using that piece of plywood actually to help me. And watch the reservoir, make sure it's as empty as can be. You still have some fluid in the system, but it's going to help doing it that way. So however, when you open both systems, you'll realize that the rear doesn't really drain that much. It's something about the way the ABS module is set up, but I'll talk about that in more detail in a different video. So just make sure that you can get out as much fluid as you can. The next thing would be to remove the fender liner on the front left side, the driver's side. Again, you've got clips. I think could be about 8 of them. Just use your clip removal tools and you'll get that done. And you do have some screws on the fender side. So, and once you have that, it helps to use 2 hands. Right now, it's a little bit of a struggle, but my other hand is working the camera for you guys. And out it goes finally. So right now I'm going to remove the flare nuts, and I'm starting with the horizontally mounted ones first. I'm using a flare nut wrench, and then after it's loose enough, then I can bring in my open end wrench. You don't want to strip anything during the removal process or the installation process. Then I'm going to, once those are fully loose, check that with my hand. Okay. Now, the game plan is that I need to get those 4 that are mounted vertically as well, but I just don't really have much access to do it. I need to remove this front assembly completely, and so for that reason, I'm going to shift to the other end, which is going to be at the master cylinder. So once again, get your flare nut wrenches, loosen those, and then you can bring in your open end wrenches and loosen it fully. And then I've also got clips holding the tubes closer to the fender, which I guess you can't see in this video, but using you can use some sort of flat tool, you can release it, and I did hear some popping. At this point, you can just pull it all up, wiggle it around, and remove it. By the way, a warning, it still has fluid in it, so a little bit of dripping will happen, so just make sure you protect your painted surfaces. And now I can shift my attention to the 4. Again, flare nut wrenches to go ahead and break them loose. And then once everything is good, go ahead and use your open end wrenches if you please. Otherwise, you can still use your flare nut wrenches if you want to. So once all these are fully loosened, go ahead and just make sure everything is good. Then we're going to shift to the fender. At this point, you have 12mm nuts holding these studs. The studs are part of the bracket holding the ABS module, so remove those. Okay, so back at the top, you have fully fastened everything you need to. It's just a matter of gaining access to remove it. lift the 4 tubes up and try to wiggle the ABS module up. It's around this time that you realize, okay, there is a reason that they tell you in the instructions that you should remove the rear plastic cowl cover as well. But we'll be able to make this work. One of the tubes is going to be much looser than the others. It's not a big deal. It's the one that goes to the front left caliper, so it's got a shorter run. It's not really attached to the chassis. And work this out. This one will not have as much fluid as the tubes because you have drained as much of it through the calipers anyway. And that's it. So your removal process is pretty much it. If you want to install, they usually say that installation is the reverse of removal. One of the first steps is that if you're installing a new one, remove the bolts holding the bracket onto the ABS module, and then you're going to transfer that over onto your new ABS module. After installing your new ABS module, add brake fluid into the system and then bleed it. That is very important, but we shall be covering that in a different video. Congratulations on your DIY, but there is a point where you'll still need professional help. This is because there is something that needs to be done every time you replace your ABS module. It's called calibration of the deceleration G sensor. The manual says that this is something that can only be done by the console tool, so you need Nissan or Infiniti. I do not know if any other tools can do it, but my experience is that Nissan was able to do it on my Infiniti vehicle. So is this something that's necessary? Well, yes, I would say yes, because I installed the ABS module, but my ABS light came on and stayed on. Not only that, in the short drive that I had to the Nissan dealership, the vehicle seemed to brake in a rather unbalanced manner. So I'd say if you want things to be perfect, you've saved a lot of money, but doing the labor yourself, why not pay the professionals to take you all the way home? Okay? I hope this video helps in one way or another. Stay safe out there.